It had only been 2 months since YN's marriage with JK. This marriage wasn't out of love, it was her parents' decision, one she agreed to for their sake. JK in a crisp white kurta and black trouser came from behind. He leaned down and hugged her tightly, and let out a small giggle. She turned her head to him. Cookie pulled her closer and wrapping her tightly in his veiny arms. Then slowly he took the loose end of her sari and covering her back with it. Tonight they were going to her parents' house for family gathering, yet YN knew even there JK's protectiveness would follow her like a shadow. YN carefully lifted her sari and opened the passenger door. JK leaned over and gently pulling her hand to help to get inside the car. She adjusts her sari folds neatly. The car finally stops in front of YN's parents' house and excitement lit up on her face as she stepped out quickly. And she spotted her father, Mr. Hung, standing at the main door. It felt like he had been waiting just for his daughter. YN began to walk toward him when suddenly JK got out of car and caught her hand firmly. She looked back at him, his grip was tight. Jake's expression was serious, the perfect image of a controlling husband. Inside, her mom greeted her warmly and wrapping her in a comfy embrace. Meanwhile, JK ran his hand through his hair and fixing it neatly before sitting down on the sofa. His posture was proud and confident. As YN entered the family room, everyone greeted her. He placed his hand again on her shoulder and squeezed lightly. That was it. JK couldn't bear it anymore. He shot up from the sofa and walked toward them. JK was sitting on the sofa, and his sharp gaze was fixed on her wife, who sat between her family and cousins. His eyes didn't leave her for a second, Cookie watching her every move, like a protective, almost controlling hubby. N felt the intensity of the stare. N's heart skipped a beat, and she nervously adjusted her sorry. She is trying to ignore the tension between them. But inside she felt uneasy, but she didn't want her family to notice. N didn't respond, her eyes fixed outside the window. JK leaned closer, his hand moved to adjust it for her, but N immediately pushed his hand away. JK dragged her inside. He was ignoring her protests and shoved open the washroom door. The door slammed back at the wall, and he pushed her inside the washroom. JK locked it from outside. Cookie drove aimlessly through the silent night. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, his anger and guilt swirling in his chest. And after a while, he stops the car outside a familiar building and parked it. Taking a deep breath, he stepped out and entered the building with heavy steps. He walked down the quiet hallway and knocked on a door. A moment later, the door opened. Mrs. Chung stood there. She was surprised. He ran straight to the washroom, and he unlocked the door. With his shaky hands, as he entered the room he froze. Yn was sitting on the commode. She's hugging her knees and her face pale. Her eyes were red. Slowly Yn lifted her head and looked at him. Without wasting a second, JK walked to her and bent down. He carefully scooped her into his arms. Tears rolled down his face as he buried his head against her chest. He wrapping his arm around her tightly.Yn's heart ached, watching her hubby break down. Slowly her anger softened. She placed her arms around him and hugging him close, or tears slipping from her own eyes. Yn nodding softly her in his arms in bridal style and carried her to their bedroom. He laid her gently on the bed, he brushing his lips against her forehead. Then with tremble lips he pecked her softly. Wrapped them in warmth as they held onto each other, lost in love, a love too deep, too consuming to ever let go. Later Anne rested her head on his chest, making lazy patterns on his skin with her index finger, and then she noticed the redness on his cheek. They drifted to sleep in each other's arms, their hearts finally at peace.